are all guilty of the grave misdeed of just existing when we should be living. So my story begins. So I was just sitting there in my kitchen, kind of bored like usual, creeping on Facebook, and my dad came downstairs and, well, he had told me several months before that we were planning a trip to Africa because he and some colleagues wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, and along the way they had decided to extend the trip and include staffing and building a medical clinic for a remote Tanzanian Maasai village. And my dad turned to me and he asked something really unexpected. Tali, would you be interested in being our director of anthropology? We need someone to educate the group on languages, customs, culture, stuff like that. And I started to panic a little bit because, I had gone on some missions and foreign service trip stuff, but I'd never had to take any sort of an active role. It had always just been my parents going, and then little me just kind of dragged along. And so I was like, okay, sure, I guess I'm always up for an adventure, right? But let me tell you, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. You see, in order for a clinic in remote Africa to be successful, you have to ensure that you gain the trust of the whole village that you are serving. And one way of doing that is ensuring that everybody has a complete cultural understanding. So many meetings and shots later, and after an 18-hour plane trip, we were there, and most of the group left to go climb the mountain, but 5 of us, women, we stayed behind and we boarded a rickety bus that went rumbling through the dust devils of Africa's Great Rift Valley. And that's when the culture shock set in, because all these things that I'd read about, imagined, taught about, they were all real, right here. And in just one day, we had gone from Lion King to lions, and it was just crazy. There were these little boys herding cows, all strange-looking cows all down the road, and cool lizards and vegetation straight out of a Disney movie. We made our way to an outcropping, a hidden lodge on a hillside, and there were huts made out of cow dung, and that's where we were going to be staying. And then our first supper, we saw this cute little goat trotting around the grounds of the lodge, and then we hear this bah, and it sounded really disturbing and kind of pitiful, and we were like, oh, it's for dinner. Goats. The next night, we heard a cat meowing, and we got really nervous. We had an opportunity to tour Aboma, which is like a little Maasai neighborhood, and we could see all these beautiful, brightly dressed children, but when we neared them, we could see that they were all sick in some way or malnourished. It was a heartbreaking affirmation. This was where we were supposed to be, and these were the people that we were supposed to help. Because of the culture of the Maasai, where women are second class, we felt that we had to have a man serve as the liaison between us and what we wanted to accomplish with the village elders. But that man didn't show up, and all our men were off climbing a mountain somewhere. So it was just us and 15 armed tribal elders. So there we were, these 5 American women charged with the daunting task of securing acceptance for our project. And the elders had a lot of difficult questions. I had to explain stuff like AIDS and the importance of monogamy. But by the end of the meeting, we had earned their trust. After a few days of implementing our education programs, teaching health and wellness, it was time for the clinic's grand opening. I spliced a few minutes from the official clinic video because I think these things are way better told with pictures than with words. And it's going to lead up to the most amazing part of my story, the miracle of life in the most desolate of places. Thank you is Asante.
The sun.
We are nearly 10,000 miles away from right here in Texas. We're very happy to be here today and to dedicate your new clinic. Are we ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3.
The most amazing thing about this trip was that our first patient was an emergency pregnancy.
When I first heard about the patient, actually I was teaching one of the non-doctors how to do blood pressures and pulses. My wife came over and said, "There's a patient you should probably see, Scott." We took the patient in the examination room and it was very clear she was pregnant and in labor. We identified that she had been contracting for about 3 days, and she had not felt the baby move for about a day and a half. We had no fetal monitoring equipment. We had no mechanism to figure out how the baby was doing, if it was alive or dead or what.
So, there I was, a nurse in one of the clinic's examination rooms, when I see a bunch of doctors just running into the main room, and I hear about a baby being born out here in the middle of nowhere. But when the baby came out, there were no signs of life. What would this mean for the clinic? Our first patient dead? Well, out of the 5 doctors that we had with us, it just so happened that one was a neonatologist, a specialist in sick newborns. The neonatologist rushed into the room where I was, and he asked for a mask, but we could only give him a plastic bag. And then he disappeared back into that other room, and there was silence. There was silence for 10 long minutes. And then the beautiful cry of a little baby girl pierced that silence. Joy, relief, and life. He had breathed life back into the little baby. The world is so much bigger than you can imagine. You don't want to miss it. What would have happened if I had chickened out and decided not to be a part of this momentous adventure? I challenge you to be always searching for something to define your character, and it doesn't have to be with the wildebeest or the rhinos in Africa. It can be at your local soup kitchen or Habitat for Humanity. And above all, don't let your youth be an excuse not to disrupt and change lives, help people. Transform yourself, a neighborhood, a country. Go out of your comfort zone. You'll make new friends, touch lives, and see some awesome stuff. 'Cause sure, you can get by just existing, but why not live? Thank you.